What do you wish more women knew about how men operated?
There's 10,000 times more going on inside the head of a man than you have any idea. He's carrying burdens that you don't have a clue about, and he don't know how to express them, and he don't know what to do about it, and he figures if he puts it out there and communicates it, he's just going to be shot down, called a fool, called weak, so he carries it inside, and you have no clue the burdens and the hell that most men are carrying inside and not even showing you.
This was a fantastic interview with Creek Dewayne. Now, if you don't have 2 hours to watch the entire thing, you came to the right spot. Because in this video, I'll be sharing the top 11 most powerful lessons for men that Dewayne described during his interview with Chris Williamson. Now, there was a lot of amazing things discussed, but again, I narrowed it down to what you're going to see here. If there's any lesson in particular that you're like, I want to hear specifically that one, I left timestamps so you can skip ahead. Now for each lesson, I'll be playing a short clip. But before we get into that, it's worth asking, who is Dewayne? Well, he has over 1.3 million subscribers on his YouTube channel, Dry Creek Wrangler School. And I didn't know much about him before watching this interview, but other people have. And effectively, he's a cowboy that seems to share timeless wisdom as well as other practical skills. And people in the comments section were stating how much they just adore this guy. They've been following him for a long time, and they're really happy that he's getting this type of exposure. So right here, I took a screenshot just to show you all these top comments of how people love this guy. Lesson number 1, a lot of men struggle with girls in relationships, and it's due to them not having a father figure to show them how. In my case, I absolutely love my dad. I'm so blessed that he's still in my life. However, when it comes to interacting with women, that is not his strong suit. So I'm left with the responsibility of filling in that knowledge gap. And that's why on my YouTube channel, I talk about my self-improvement journey to help make it easier for other guys that are also wanting to improve.
What are you hearing from the guys in your audience? What are they often asking? What are they coming to you? What are the problems that they're dealing with mostly?
Relationships. Girls. They were not raised with a dad who said, hey, this is how you treat a lady. You know, when girls talk and they say this, what they actually mean is this. And they go into a relationship, girlfriends, marriages, getting all their information from Hollywood. And it's a crash and burn.
Lesson number 2, and this one's a deep one. Would you buy yourself a beer? The fact that so many men do not like themselves, that is hard to hear because you're going to spend the rest of your life with yourself. I realize that if I don't like myself, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. My own personal opinion, like what I think about myself, how I feel, is the most important thing. At the same time, I don't want to have to escape from myself. And that's exactly what I used to do in the past. I had a major video game addiction, and the only way, or one of my preferred ways, to escape all these looping thoughts was to play video games. So give yourself grace, and just remember, you're doing the best that you can.
I think one of the things that men that want to achieve things in their life struggle with a lot is being kinder with themselves when they fall short, even if they tried their best. How have you learned to have a better relationship with yourself, the voice inside of your head, to be kinder if things go badly?
I like me. I like me. I would buy me a drink. I can give myself the same grace I can give you because I like me. I like me in spite of my understanding and the reality of my weaknesses and my warts and my scars and everything. But, you know, all in all, I'm a pretty good dude. Man, you got to get to that point.
I wonder how many men can say that.
Not as many as should.
Lesson number 3. Men struggle way more internally than women will ever know. Today, I think it's common for women to say, men ain't shit, and they have this perception that's just sunshine and rainbows for us. But they'll never know how it truly feels to be a man, and vice versa. Us guys will never know what it truly feels like to have the struggles of being a woman. But I love what Dewayne says about this. And I can't help but feel that he's talking from his own personal experience from the past. And I also think that a lot of men are feeling this way right now.
What do you wish more women knew about how men operated?
There's 10,000 times more going on inside the head of a man than you have any idea. He's carrying burdens that you don't have a clue about, and he don't know how to express them, and he don't know what to do about it, And he figures if he puts it out there and communicates it, he's just going to be shot down, called a fool, called weak. So he carries it inside. And you have no clue the burdens and the hell that most men are carrying inside and not even showing you. I wish more women understood that.
Lesson number 4, men want to be respected and appreciated for their efforts. Now, I've heard different sources say the same thing. And what men and women value in a relationship is different. My theory is that respect and appreciation is even more important for a man that does physical labor. Let me know in the comments section if you think that's true. But when he said that men don't need therapy, that they just need their partner to be grateful for their sacrifices, I think he missed the mark on this. I suspect that he's coming from his own personal experience, for which I won't fault him.
The average real man does not need to go get therapy for the battles and the burdens he's carrying inside. What he needs is for those that he's carrying them for to recognize that they're there and to respect it and to be grateful for it. I think that this thought of men's mental health, emotional health, go get help, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's out of place. Like everything else, I think it could be taken to the point that men just become weak. And brother, let me tell you, in this day and age, we don't need more weak men. When your internal battles come to the point that you need help because they have weakened you, then get help. But I think everybody's balance is different. I fear there was a problem for years on this side with that subject being pushed the way it is. We're going to get out of balance on the other side. And it's like, and everybody needs therapy for everything.
But quick commentary. Now, I'm not a counselor, therapist, or licensed professional, but over the years, I made the following observation. When you're dealing with internal conflict, it can typically be split up into two different things, emotions and logic. For most, I believe emotional processing comes first. I suspect that Dwayne's form of doing this is chilling outside with a cigar. And if it works for him, that is great. But I think the mistake that he makes is assuming that it will work for everybody else, which may not be the case. So for me, the solution to both the emotional and logical side is talking to friends, journaling on my big ass whiteboards behind me, and most recently, creating my own type of technique called visual mind mapping that I find to be extremely effective. So if that's something that you want to try out, check out the link that I'll be leaving in the description. Lesson number 5, before doing something, ask yourself why.
Why do I need to run 300 miles with 2 broken legs? Because David Goggins said so?
And that was such a great insight, and I absolutely love it. Because I find myself drawn to the mindset and accomplishments like David Goggins, where he pushes himself to the extreme. I think if I were to do that in my domain, I'd be an absolute beast, right? And I think about Goku, where he reaches that next higher form, and he can only hold it temporarily because it's just too big of an energy drain. When it comes to David Goggins, he talks about how his body is completely being worn down, and that's the sacrifice he needs to make. So I think that there are good traits that you can take and cherry pick, but just know why you're doing it and be very intentional.
Why do I need to say, you know what, I need to spend more time in the backyard with a cigar? And if the answer is because I'm becoming overwhelmed, overtight, losing my balance, losing my focus on what really matters in life, I'm becoming hard to live with, this will make me a better person for those around me. Me being able to bench press 200 pounds as opposed to 180 pounds does not necessarily make me a better person for those that I'm here to serve. It feeds my ego.
Lesson number 6, it's not too late to make a change. The fact that Dwayne made this transformation just recently to this chill dude is remarkable. Now, you don't have to wait until a heart attack hits you or some major event. You can do it right now, and it doesn't matter your age or your circumstance. In fact, Dwayne reminds me of Bob Ross. He was on PBS. He was that chill painter dude. He's like, you don't make mistakes. You just make little trees. It was just this real chill painter dude with the curly hair.
Because if you've painted with us before, we don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
Well, I heard a story that he was in the military, maybe a drill sergeant, and he was just really aggressive and he didn't like that about himself. So once he retired, he decided to do a 180 and do the painting. So Dwayne reminds me of Bob Ross in that sense.
Well, I'll just say I came to a place in life where I just didn't like me anymore. I looked in the mirror and I'm like, I will not spend the next 50 years with this guy like I have the last 50. I don't like me. Nobody around likes me. And my kids didn't like me. I wasn't a very nice person. And I was just very on edge, very angry. I had had a small heart attack, and I knew it was a heart attack. And I was at the point, I'm not kidding, I lay there in bed, and I felt it come on. And I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Good. I don't have to fight this anymore. I'm not going to wake my wife up. I went to sleep.
You were in bed next to your wife
Yeah.
having a heart attack.
Yeah. And I went to sleep. I woke up next morning. I'm like, dang it. I'm still here. And I didn't tell her. So I had to make some decisions. What's making me like this? I need to get it out of my life. And there were people, including family, that I'm like, nope, y'all are gone. I stopped watching the news. I'm like, nope, y'all are gone. Started changing my diet. Started spending a lot of time out on the front porch, just smoking cigars, letting the world go by. And slowly over time, got a handle on stuff.
Lesson number 7. Communicating by detaching from your emotions is a critical skill, especially when talking with women. I couldn't agree with this more. So many guys have that misconception if you talk about your feelings or your shortcomings, it's just going to make you look weak and it's going to put you in a worse spot. But if you never practice it, you never do it, of course you're going to suck at it. And I had that mindset of everybody has their weaknesses, but if I can communicate it confidently, I'm weak in this area, I'm strong in this area, what are we going to do about it? Let's problem solve. So many great results happen. It's kind of like being on a football team. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. The quarterback, throw the damn ball, right?
Humans don't know how to communicate. Communication is our biggest weakness. To be able to build a communication with a horse, we have to move into their world and learn to speak, but learn to think how they think. Well, we can say men and women are the same thing. The women are different from men. They have a different way of thinking. And if you don't understand what they're saying, if you're confused, sit down and gently say, look, I'm sorry. I don't understand what you're feeling. I don't understand, but I'd love to understand if you can help me. Just listen to them. That helps them sort out all these thoughts that's in their head. They need to just put it out so they can hear it. And they don't need you to demean them by saying, okay, I'll fix this. Just listen to them. I can maintain my strength and communicate to her. I can say, look, I'm working 60 hours a week, and the environment that I'm working in is very, very difficult. And I come home and I only have 8 hours here at the house, and this is the only place of peace I have in this entire world. And when I come home, you're angry all the time. You're not satisfied about anything. If you're not going to provide for me that little bit of peace, that this is the only place I can get, what are we doing? Now, you're not vulnerable. You're not getting walked on. You're not being a jerk. You're not coming in, throwing stuff down and saying this. You're just communicating the hard reality truth. But how you communicate is just as important as what you communicate.
Lesson number 8. Animals taught him you really can't force people to do stuff that they don't want to do. Now, I've heard people talk about, I learned so much from animals, you wouldn't believe it. Okay. But it wasn't until Dewayne explained it the way that he did, I started to understand that better. And it's true. You can't brute force somebody to do something. And even if you can, it's so short-lived. You're just constantly monitoring, like, don't you dare revert, don't you dare go back. But persuasion is way more effective. And that applies to animals, applies to humans, and just all aspects of life.
Your average quarter horse size horse, is going to weigh between 800 and 1,100 pounds. Okay? If I physically get his body to do what I want, but I don't have his mind, as soon as he gets a chance, he's going to go back again. But if I ignore the body and I get the mind, if I have the mind, I have the body. I take the reins and I bounce that bit that's in its mouth. I bounce it pretty sharp. And he decides in his mind, I don't like that. I think I will pick my head up. And it's like, I'm not going to pick your head up. That's what you have a neck for. Okay? You have that neck. That's what it's for. I'm not picking your head up. I'm going to suggest to you that you decide it's in your best interest for you to pick your head up. and we go for the mind. And how much in life? You've got all these folks working for you here. You want to make things so that they decide that if this is what Chris wants done, it's in my best interest. I want to go do that.
Yeah.
Lesson number 9, balance is key. It was such an important lesson, they kept on restating it multiple times throughout the podcast and in different variations. And it's ironic because it seems simple, it's a cliche, but it's so difficult to implement. And it's a personal experience for everybody. So what may be out of balance for me may not be for you and vice versa.
Just go harder, bro, can cause you to have a heart attack laid in bed next to your wife.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, that's something that I probably do need to heed.
Right.
And on the other side, like, am I a useless blob of emotional nothingness?
Right.
Okay, well, maybe I need a bit more David Goggins in my life.
Right. I broke 3 ribs one time in a barn, saddling horses, horse threw a fit, took 8 aspirin, and got on that horse and did a 4-hour ride because I had a job to do. It's my job. Let's go back to balance. Your balance and my balance and his balance are different. I think a man has to find his own balance.
Lesson number 10. Sometimes progress is simply not making the situation worse. And that is so true. I love that explanation. My example would be, it's like being on a diet and you have a cheat meal. And normally you could just do a whole tub of ice cream, which we'd admit that's not a good idea. But if you learn to just switch it to a candy bar, that's a major win. Now you could still argue, oh, the candy bar, that's not healthy. But compared to what it was with the ice cream, huge progress.
And sometimes we tend to think, until I'm at 2, I didn't accomplish anything. But getting from a -5 to a -4, that's a victory.
Avoiding going from a -4 to a -5.
Yes. Just staying at a -5, we didn't go to -6. That's a victory. When I was young, come home from work, how was your day today, honey? I didn't get in a fight, so it was a good day, And but that is a victory.
Lesson number 11, the importance of integrity, faith, telling the truth, respecting and protecting the women in your life, being of service to those around you, and just overall, being a good person. That was a common theme that Dewayne spoke about, and it was really reflective in his values. Came up multiple times when it came down to integrity. He's like, yeah, your word is your bond. If you don't have that as a man, you're screwed. So he's not going to sacrifice that for money, for fame, nothing. He also really emphasized telling the truth. Regardless if it's going to put you in a worse position, just tell the truth. He instilled that in his kids, and he also really respected that in his father. And multiple times, he's just talking about be of service to those around you. Like everything that he does, he doesn't want to burden other people. He wants to contribute, help out. So it's just really noble. And I think that's more of an old school way of thinking, but it's still great lessons to take away from this.
A man's most valuable, most important resource is his good name. If a man ain't got a good name, he ain't got nothing. So don't lie. Be respectful. Be respectful to others. Be respectful to your elders. Even if they're not respectable, they still been through life enough. Their position earns them what their behavior won't.
Now, if you liked all those lessons, here's a bonus one. Dewayne doesn't seem to complain about anything if he can't change it. Now, he didn't explicitly say this, but it's just an observation. He was talking about his health issues, close calls, and he just always seems to chalk it up as, it's life. What are you going to do? Even in the podcast, you can see one of his hands is uncontrollably shaking, but it was never discussed during the interview. And even if it was, I suspect he would just say, it's life. Get older, but I can still function. So I think it's an indirect way of being grateful for everything that he has. He doesn't take anything personally. He's like just happy to be alive, can still function, and that's something that we can also take away from that as well.
Plates and screws in the neck.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard you say that not most of those were actually from horsing accidents, but you were in a plane crash, a car crash, and you rolled a motorhome off a hill?
I was a passenger off a mountain in Alaska.
I need to hear those stories, please.
Motorhome, I was a passenger in the back. We were coming down narrow road off the mountain. The lady that was driving, there were a couple of teenagers in the seat right here, and they were fussing and bickering. And so she turned around to tell them to stop fussing. Hey, y'all stop fussing. And just drove right off. So we went down. I don't know how far down we went, but we slid down and hit and landed up against a bunch of trees down
No
there.
rolling?
No, it didn't roll.
Okay.
No. So you just life, and then a lot of been bucked off a lot, just
Bumps
a lot
and
of,
bruises and
and
fractures and breaks.
landing in places, and so it was accumulation of life.
All in all, I really enjoyed watching this video. I didn't know much about Dwayne before walking into this, and hearing about a cowboy dropping down wisdom, I'm like, this isn't going to be for me, but I was pleasantly surprised. It makes sense to why he has such a loyal fan base. He's that more old school, stern, but father figure, and he's a rare breed. On top of that, you can just sense that he has good values, he's authentic, he's comfortable with himself, he's not chasing fame, not chasing money, and that's refreshing. And if you made it this far in the video, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm on my self-improvement journey, and hopefully I'm helping you out as well. Because as in the words of Peter Parker, I'm trying to do better.
How are you? Trying to do better.
So if you enjoyed this video, check out some of my other ones. I'll see you there.